Welcome again, part two. We'll continue with the hearings. This is a shout out to our victim, Andreas Dominicus. I'm sorry if I butchered his name. This is our victim right here, who these police officers from Scottsdale Police Department in Arizona, Officer Derek Kohler and Officer McKelly. As in part one, you seen the body cams of the officers. I'll try to show it again in this at the end of this, in case you missed it or can't get to that video. Secure our rights, official news media, U.S. press. Hit that subscribe button, notifications. Make sure you hit the like, share it. Encourage your friends and other people, family, whoever, to come over and subscribe so I can go live. Let's get right back into the video. And this is the attorney for the victim. And then it's finished off with, of course, the rebuttal from the police officer's attorney.
Good morning, and may it please the court. Jesse Showalter on behalf of plaintiff appellee Andres Dominguez. I think I've known Ms. Davis for a long time. I really respect her, and I feel like she's given me insight into what her jury arguments in this, her closing arguments in this case.
Let's look at the reach.
Yeah,
that's what she started with. That's the piece that does seem to be uncontested. Why couldn't the officer have reasonably perceived the situation at the time that your client reached to the other side of the car where Officer Kohler, I guess, could not see, and then resisted removing himself, or didn't get out of the vehicle himself, but braced himself in such a way as to make it difficult to extract him from the vehicle? Why isn't that a sufficient basis for the officer to respond with the force that he used?
Well, I know this court is very familiar with the video and what it shows before the reach that Ms. Davis is focused on. And when I say video, I should say multiple videos, is that because both Kohler and McKelly show not just one reach, but multiple reaches. Throughout the time that Andy and Officer Kohler are having this conversation, you can see Andy reaching all over the interior of the vehicle. You can see him reaching into the glove box. There's a point on McKelly's video where you see that, in fact, Andy's reaching into his back pocket. This is all before the reach.
Officer Kohler can't see from the perspective of Officer McKelly. And that's why I'm focused on Officer Kohler, because he's the one that applied the force. And you're right. I mean, your client does reach, license, registration, and so forth. But as I'm trying to watch this, and because of the emphasis, I watched it several times, I'm trying to ask myself, well, what could Kohler have perceived? And he's not quite at the same place as the cameras, so you got to project a little bit. What could Officer Kohler have perceived when your client reached, which in your brief you describe as reaching, I think, for his phone, intending to record, but Kohler, of course, doesn't know what he's reaching for and doesn't know the intent is to record. So why couldn't the officer have been sufficiently concerned at that point to have applied the force to try to extract your client from the car, to which your client offered resistance?
Well, and my answer is to why a reasonable officer would not have perceived this reach as posing a threat is that there had already been multiple reaches. And a reasonable officer in a traffic stop situation knows reasonably that every single traffic stop situation is going to require him to ask the occupant of the car to reach for something.
Okay, so let's take that. What case is there that is not at a high level of generality which puts the officer on notice that if there have been previous reaches, that basically he has to disregard any potential danger from a similar kind of reach? What is there that says initial reaches are different than a case with like one reach and the reaction is based on that one reach, other than at a high level of generality?
If qualified immunity requires that level of granularity and particularity, I think the court knows I don't have a case that says what you're saying.
But your argument is this isn't the one reach case where you're saying, it sounds like you're saying, oh, just one sudden reach, that's a different circumstance. And in that case, the officer can pull him out of the car, but with multiple reaches cannot. And isn't that the kind of situation where this Supreme Court has repeatedly told our court, you need something not at that, you need something more on point than you can't use unreasonable, unnecessary force?
No, because that's not what my argument is with respect to the reaches. My argument with respect to the reaches is that the jury can look at this video and say, Officer Kohler watched Andy reach multiple times and didn't perceive any danger from it. And a reasonable officer in this context would not have perceived any danger from it. And had Officer Kohler perceived a danger, had he actually been concerned that there was a weapon in the car, or had a reasonable officer been concerned that there was a weapon in the car, one of the instructions he would have given to the car occupant is, you know what, because we talked about a gun, I need you to keep your hands where I can see them. I need you to not make any sudden reaches, and I'm going to ask you to get out of the car, or anything along those lines.
And is there any case from the Supreme Court or our court at other than a high level of generality where that kind of detailed instruction is given to put the officer on notice that not saying those types of things is going to subject the officer to liability?
I don't think that's what qualified immunity requires, is that level of particularity. And the Supreme Court has repeatedly said that. And I think the cases I would point to are Hope v. Pelzer, Taylor v. Riojas, and also, there's a Brousseau v. Haugen, in which the Supreme Court was not kind to the Ninth Circuit, but the Supreme Court noted that there are many cases in which Graham v. Connor put officers on notice of what the law is. And I understand that there are a set of cases in which there's more going on than what's going on here. What the context of this case that puts it outside of all the cases that the city relies on starts at the beginning. And that is, Andy brought his car to a stop. He placed his car in park. He rolled down the window. He is submitting to police authority. And all the cases they cite are cases where that did not happen. And so, I think we have to look at it in that context. And in that context, there is a robust set of cases that put the officers on notice that using significant force against somebody who is complying violates the United States Constitution.
Would it have made a difference, in your view, to the qualified immunity analysis if instead of your client saying, but I don't have a gun with me even though I own one, your client had said nothing about the gun? Would that have made a difference to the qualified immunity analysis if he just hadn't said anything about whether he was carrying his weapon with him?
Well, so when you say the qualified immunity analysis, do you mean, does that change the analysis with respect to the first prong, which is whether there's a constitutional violation?
Either prong.
Because I think on the first, I'm not certain how it shakes out. If he had been difficult, I think if that were the case, then it becomes murkier. But here, you have no objective basis for Officer Kohler to believe that there is any weapon in the car. You have no objective basis for Officer Kohler to believe that Andy poses any kind of a threat, other than these weird statements. Officer Kohler imagines, it seems, that Andy is somehow anti-government or anti-cop, and there's no basis for that. And throughout the pleadings, that's the argument they make, is that he was anti-government. It seems to be made up. And the same with the gun. Officers can't imagine a gun where there is not one.
Well, officers can reasonably be afraid of the uncertainties of traffic stops. And here, added to this, is the fact that your client admitted he owns a gun. So this is different than just some random motorist who has said nothing about owning a gun or not owning a gun. Isn't that a difference that's relevant?
I don't believe it is, because there's, I think, 300, there's more than 300, there's like something like 800 million guns in private hands in the United States of America. And in Arizona, which is a open carry, concealed carry, however you want to carry state, that argument means that they can use force, almost up to deadly force, in any traffic stop if anybody makes any sudden movement. And if that's the law, I mean,
didn't the district court consider this exact fact when it conducted its analysis and cited to Young and Rice and saying that even if the officer believed that the statement that your client had a gun raised some concern about the officer's safety, they still had a responsibility to use alternative, less intrusive means to accomplish their goal, as opposed to moving directly to the excessive force that was used in this case?
That's correct. And I think the district court did a really good job of doing that analysis. The district court is very explicit about what it's doing. It did the Scott v. Harris analysis. It looked at the video. It compared the video to the statements that Andy made. And it said, Andy's statements about what happened do not clearly contradict this video. And it said, a reasonable jury can look at this in the light most favorable to Andy and find that this was a constitutional violation. And so, yeah, I think I'm very lucky in this case to have the district court's briefing, on that topic. And it really went through the law and it went through the facts. And there is something else that I wanted to point out, because I don't think it's been captured in the briefing. I don't think, I wish the district court would have gone a little bit farther with this, because I think there's a really important point, which is the point at which Officer Kohler instructs Andy to get out of the car and then steps into the door frame. Because at that point, I want to know what exactly Andy could have done that Officer Kohler would not have claimed justified force. If Andy had moved toward him in compliance with his purported command, and I don't think it's a command at all, but if Andy had moved toward him, Andy would be accused of reaching, lunging, right? If Andy moves away from him, which is what happened, and by the way, Andy has his hands in the air in response to that, again, clearly submitting to authority. I think a reasonable jury could find there is no passive resistance here. Andy is faced with an angry officer who uses obscenities against him, who repeatedly makes false accusations that he's anti-police. And Andy is in an impossible situation where there's no direction he can move without potentially being accused of a crime. That is and what a reasonable jury can say is Officer Kohler had 7 years of experience, 7 years of doing traffic stops. What he's doing when he steps into that door frame is creating a situation where he can charge the person with resisting arrest no matter what happens. And you can see in that video, and a reasonable jury will see in that video, that Andy knows he's in an impossible situation, and he doesn't know what to do because he's faced with an angry, aggressive officer. And Andy describes him. One of the problems with body camera video, I think, is it doesn't show what the officer looks like. It doesn't show how they are behaving. And I think a reasonable jury can say, the video, I think, allows us to say, you know what? These guys were on notice. This isn't even a qualified immunity situation. We can look at this video and say, you know what? Maybe a reasonable jury can say, Officer Kohler should not be a police officer. He should not be entitled to qualified immunity. This is the kind of malicious or incompetent action where I think that might apply. I don't think this court needs to find that. I think this court can rely on what the district
The
court.
Supreme Court lets us reach out and say, well, this guy's acting so bad that we're dismissing this whole area of the law. So I'm hearing your jury argument now. You're both practicing for what might have come, but I'm not sure that helps us.
I don't think it helps you but I think that the district court's analysis is accurate. The district court's analysis is correct. It identified a robust set of cases which stand for the proposition that failure to immediately and completely comply with a purported police command, it does not justify significant force. And the significance of the force here is body slammed onto concrete. Andy is very lucky, Officer Kohler is very lucky that his injuries are only what they are. That could have been deadly force. That could have been a spinal injury. It was a significant degree of force that's shown in that video. I'm getting a little off the track there, but the authority really is robust. And I think what this court can rely on is that it has a history in cases in all different contexts. There's Coles v. Eagle, and there is Rice v. Morehouse, which was a 2011 occurrence that both apply to this situation. But outside of that context, the Ninth Circuit has repeatedly asserted this principle, that you cannot use significant force against people who are at most passively resisting. I'm almost out of time, and what I will submit to the court is that looking at this from the perspective of how a reasonable jury could, they could find that Andy was not resisting at all. Kohler violently and aggressively placed him in an impossible situation, and he did what any citizen would. He put his hands in the air and tried to avoid being hurt. Thank you.
Your Honors, there were a lot of questions about the other times that Mr. Dominguez was reaching around in the car. Reaching and fiddling and looking for things is a whole scale different from this. Whole scale difference. Where's the case? Where's the case that says that Officer Kohler cannot step in that doorframe? Where's the case that says...
Well, if he steps in the doorframe, how is not getting out of the car resisting?
It's
right?
passive.
It's a physical question, not a legal question.
It's passive resistance. Mr. Dominguez.
Stop. If you cannot open the door to exit.
You really got to listen. Listen to her. Listen to her.
Cannot step in that doorframe. Where's the case that says...
Well, if he steps in the doorframe, how is not getting out of the car resisting?
It's
right?
passive.
It's a physical question, not a legal question.
It's passive resistance. Mr. Dominguez.
Stop. If you cannot open the door to exit, how is not getting out passive resistance? It's not physically possible to exit if the officer is standing in front of the door. That's the argument being made. I don't know if that's true or not. The video doesn't necessarily contradict that. And so I put it to you. He's arguing, jury could say there's no resistance at all because the problem is that your client decided to stand in front of the door.
Where's the case that says where the officer can stand?
No. It's not a case. It's a fact.
Well, Your Honor.
Your premise is that Dominguez is resisting. The resisting is because he's not getting out of the car. But if he physically can't get out of the car because your client's standing there, where's the resistance?
I think
if there's no resistance, there are lots of cases saying that application of this force is not eligible for qualified immunity.
The video clearly shows, Your Honor, that Officer Kohler, when they're having the conversation, Mr. Dominguez says, you better lose your attitude. Officer Kohler opens the door and says, I need you to step out the car.
Why does he say that? I mean, if you want to go to the attitude, that's because your client has been dumping on him from the get-go. So to say all of this is built upon Mr. Dominguez responding in some fashion to the flame that your client has lit, that's not very persuasive. And it again requires us to accept your version of the facts. So if you tell me that the jury has to reach a certain conclusion because at some point Dominguez says, you're the one that's showing attitude, okay, that case has to go to trial.
What this court must look at is the moment immediately prior to the use of force. Graham says reasonableness at the moment. At the moment the force was used, would an objective officer have responded with force? And at the moment force was used, the immediate moment preceding that was the reach. After that, it was active resistance.
Look at the district court on that, trying to detail the facts, recognizing what both sides say. According to the district court's decision at ER 8, Dominguez puts his hands in the air, holding his license and insurance in hand, and told Kohler, "Do not touch me." Kohler then moved closer and told Dominguez, "Get out of the car or I'm going to rip you out of the car." At the same time, Dominguez repeated, "Do not touch me," and reached for the phone on the passenger seat. Now, if you take that and your client is saying, "Or I'm going to rip you out of the car," that seems to precede, or at least at the same time, that the reach that you're so much depending upon occurs. But Dominguez's reach comes after, it appears, or could come after, according to what the jury might find, after your client says, "Or I'm going to rip you out of the car." Now, who exactly has initiated that problem? Who has injected force into this?
The officer has a right and a duty to exercise unquestioned command of the situation.
Because before he says that, that's before the reach. If you're depending upon the reach to justify the use of force, your client says, "Or I'm going to rip you out of the car," before that reach takes place. So,
But there's no force used. Ultimately, there's no force used until the reach happens.
All right. Thank you, Counselor. The case
Thank you,
just
Judge.
argued will be submitted.
And from there, the same thing, AC Central, they have, this is where I'm getting the body cam footage from. This is the direct source right here. So let's go full screen and let's rewatch the video after seeing the court hearing, and then drop those comments and tell me what you think.
What's up, man?
What's up?
Where you headed?
Where am I headed?
Yeah.
I live in Tempe.
You live in Tempe?
Yeah,
Cool,
I got
man.
a job over here at on Scottsdale and Camelback. No, it's not where I'm going. I'm home.
Okay.
I gotta get changed because I got another job in Phoenix.
Okay.
Did I break a law?
You live in Tempe?
I live in Tempe.
Okay. What's with the attitude, man?
I'm in a hurry and I don't know. I don't break. I'm a very, very cautious, good driver.
Okay.
I saw you when I made my U-turn.
Right.
I know I didn't break any laws, so I'm curious on why
You know that you didn't break any laws? So are you saying that I'm violating your rights right now?
I haven't had a traffic ticket in a very long time.
Okay.
I'm a very good driver.
Okay. So do you just not like the police or what?
Look, sir, I don't have time for this. I have to go home. I have to get changed. I have a shift that starts at 8 o'clock.
Well, that's going to take you longer if you keep the attitude.
Well, I don't have an attitude. Do you want to tell me what you need?
Yeah, I need your license, registration, proof of insurance. I also need to know if there's any guns or knives in the
I
car.
don't have any guns. I'm an armed guard, but I don't have my gun with me.
Okay.
I'm a security guard. There's some condominiums right behind there. It's called
Is that where you do security?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, I had a key fob, and I took it last night. I took it home.
Okay.
I did a 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. shift, and I went home with it, and I was so tired, and I had to go to Phoenix because my TV broke, so I had to go to my storage.
Okay.
And I had to unload all my stuff in there, and I got my stuff over here. So you see, I had to take it back over here. So
Okay.
the car's registered to my mom's name,
Okay.
and so.
So you're a security guard, but you have an attitude towards the police, but you have almost the same job as we do.
You better lose your attitude, okay?
Okay.
I don't even.
Go ahead and step out of the car.
You don't have a right to open.
Go ahead and step out of the car.
This is private property.
Go ahead and step out.
Do not touch me.
Get out of the car.
Do not touch me.
Get out of the car. I'm gonna rip you out of the car.
Do not touch me. Hey!
Get out of the car.
Get out of the car right now. I haven't done anything. Get out. Are you serious?
Get out of the car.
You get out of the car right now. I'm gonna hurt you if you don't get out of the car right now. What the f*** is another doing? Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. Kidding me? Oh my God! Get on the ground right now! I'm not doing anything! Get on the ground right now! I'm not doing anything! Get out of it! Get on the ground! I haven't done anything! Hey, get on the ground right now! That's not cool, brother. You're fighting with us. I didn't fight! I got the insurance right here!
Stop fighting. Stop resisting right now. Stop resisting.
You're hurting me! I didn't got nothing in my hand! I'm going to tase you! Don't tase me!
Stop resisting.
Don't! I don't have any...
Are you watching his body, how he's not moving at all? And they keep saying that he is, that he's fighting them, and that he's resisting. Watch close.
Stop resisting.
Ow! Ow!
Stop resisting, man.
Ow! Ow! Help! Help!
Stop resisting.
Help! Help! Help!
Stop resisting.
Help! 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 You're hurting me!
Stop resisting, man.
You're hurting me! Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me! Help! Help! Help me! Help me! Stop! Release your hand! Help! I'm not doing Stop resisting! I didn't do anything! You attacked me! Stop resisting right now! You attacked me! Calm down! You attacked me! That hurts! You're hurting my ankle! You're on my leg! Help me! Calm down! Help me! You're hurting me! Please stop hurting me! You're hurting my legs! You're hurting my legs! Please stop hurting me!
4035, we have one detained.
Stop hurting me!
Roll fire for
Please stop hurting me!
face laceration. And you can restrict.
Please stop hurting me! Why are you fighting with me? Ow! Ow! He's hurting my
Roll
ankle!
him over.
You're hurting my ankle!
Stop.
You stop yelling.
Stop kicking him.
Oh my God! I cannot believe you did this to me! I live in Tempe! You were fighting with me, bro. No one's I'm in my car! Who's fighting? You wouldn't get out when I asked you to. You don't have a reason to take me out of my car. You said you usually carry a gun with you. You started. You're lying. I didn't say. I said I am a security guard. That's an armed security guard. No, I said I do own it. And he said, "Do you have a weapon?" I said I do own it. You won't get out of the car and you're reaching around. Sir, I'm not getting. No. You're wrong. You're lying. Number one, man. You're lying. I hope you have your video camera on. It is. I'm gonna charge you. My safety. Please don't hurt my ankle, sir.
4035, we're update location Scottsdale, Maine.
Please, sir, don't hurt my ankle.
No one's hurting your ankles. You're
putting pressure on my
okay,
ankle.
I'm gonna release it. Are you gonna keep on fighting?
I'm not doing anything.
Okay.
Help me! Help!
You good? Yeah. What's up, man?
What's up?
So, hit the comments. Hit the comments. Thank you for joining in this episode, part 2. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like, share, and flood the comments. Thank you, and until next episode, I will see you. Have a good night. And hey, if I don't make another video before Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving.